welcome to Never Met a Stranger Whispers of Wisdom podcast with your host, Sean Williams. Thank you for joining in today. Today, I have with me Miss Tony Janae Moman. Hey, Miss Tony. Hey. I call Miss Tony because she was a colleague of mine at Paul Mitchell Beauty College when we worked together. I was a core specialist and Tony was all over the place. She did everything. Look, she taught me a whole lot of stuff. So I am honored that you're here today and you welcome. I'm so glad you came today. You guys, we got a treat. I'm so serious. Miss Tony is doing some of everything. But I wanted her to come on because I was on Facebook and I was seeing her post that she was posting. She's an urban farmer. And I'm like, all this stuff that's going on right now with Trump and all this, everything. I said, oh my goodness. I said, every time I see I'm liking and loving this, I'm like, Tony, this is amazing. So I inboxed Tony. I said, Miss Tony, you have to come on my show, on my podcast. And so me and Miss Tony, like I said, we met at Paul Mitchell Beauty College. How many years ago? How many years ago?
Maybe 12 or more years.
Yeah, it's been a minute, but we
Yeah.
were colleagues at Paul Mitchell Beauty College. And like I said, I was a core specialist, which was like the basics of everything. And Miss Tony was all over the place, helping everybody, showing me the ropes, doing this. Because with Paul Mitchell, going back to Paul Mitchell, it's a certain way that they taught. So even though we went to school, we got our license in cosmetology. Paul Mitchell still, they tell you that once you learn whatever you learn, you might as well throw it away and forget it because the way we had to teach at Paul Mitchell was totally different than what we learned in school.
Yes.
So Miss Tony, when I came in, she was already there, so she kind of helped me, what was going on, came into class and showed me certain things because I was like, wow, this ain't how we learned in school.
Right.
And so she was amazing. She was just an amazing instructor that, everyone loved her and so did I. And so it full circle came back around. And when I saw her on social media, on Facebook, with doing farming, I was just like, oh my goodness. And, I got pictures. I'm posted up on the, to show you some of her pictures that what she does. But she also, Miss Tony, she's a educator, a researcher, an entrepreneur with strong focus on culture, leadership, and urban agriculture. How you say it? Agriculture. Look, tongue tied, agriculture. But she's working on her doctorate and everything. So Tony, we got so much to talk, girl. We got so much to talk about because this farming is just amazing to me, you guys. I'm telling you, you're gonna be having classes and doing certain.
That's the plan. So I actually started growing because of my grandfather. To be honest, he comes from Arkansas, and so he's always, talked about gardening, talking about growing and all of this. And then, you know, as I got older, as a young adult, you never plan on learning how to grow. You like, I'm not touching no dirt.
Right.
I'm not,
The
I'm not
worms.
getting dirty, the worms, all of that.
Right.
And so then my mom and her best friend, Faye, actually started introducing me to the community gardens.
Okay.
So that's how I started like being more curious about it. I still was very like, I'm not touching this stuff. This is kind of gross.
Right.
But I did it and it was kind of nice. And I was sharing before, like the challenge with community gardens is you be growing this stuff and then you'll come back the next day
and it's gone. It's gone. They just stole it.
And you'll be like, man, I didn't even get to taste my own stuff. But,
exactly.
But I know that there's a bigger purpose.
Absolutely.
With the community gardens.
Absolutely.
Probably maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we purchased a house in the city, and so I told my husband, I was like, I want to start a garden, and he's like, you want to start a garden? I was like, yeah. So I just started talking to my grandfather and my mom and her best friend, and I started it. And so from that, it's just been such a blessing, just the lessons that I've been learning from it. Being able to just understand how important this is as Black people, also the spiritual growth that I've had, just being in the space. It's just so many things that I've learned.
Just relaxing, peaceful,
my mental space. Just going out there. That's my peaceful place.
Yeah.
And just everything that's manifested from that decision to grow.
Right. Right. And so we were talking and you were telling me about the pilot program.
Yes.
So tell the viewers about the pilot program and how that came up.
Well, I'm actually a licensed hemp grower as well, and so you know.
So what is hemp?
Hemp is essentially hemp is a plant.
Okay.
And
herb, like
an herb.
Okay.
And so people, you learn how to grow hemp, it becomes, it's cannabis essentially. And so of course, depending on the level of THC that's in it, will make it legal or not. So I'm just making it, very simple.
Right.
And so in the state of Wisconsin, as long as the THC is below 3% or 0.3%, then it is legal to grow with a license.
Okay.
So, in my journey through gardening, I, people say jokes about tomatoes.
Yeah.
Hemp. You grow marijuana like you grow tomatoes. And I'll be like, what in the world, are they talking about? So I did a little research, and because it is a plant, because it comes from the earth,
right,
there are so many similarities in the way that it nurtures, the way that it grows, the way that it develops. And so that's what prompted me to start looking more into all of these other states are legalizing marijuana. We aren't licensed over 3%, but I was like, I wonder what we can do.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so that's what made me do a little more research on the legalities behind it. And there was at one point there was a crop or a pilot program for farmers, and it was
around COVID.
So there was a hemp pilot program, and it had been going on for years. And there are probably so many people that aren't even aware that it existed.
I didn't know.
And so when I started doing the research, it was saying that it was approaching the ending cycle of it. So I was like, let me see how I could be a part of it. And so as I'm doing more research, I was about to be approved for it, but then they were like, USDA is actually taking over this program, and it will give you the opportunity to be licensed as a grower, a processor, or both.
Okay.
And so I was like, let me try to do this growing thing. And
so the USDA took over the pilot program
from the
state of Wisconsin. They took it over.
So you would have to work with the USDA to get your grower's license or whatever permits or licensures that you needed to be legally able to grow.
And so how far were you when they switched it over?
It was maybe a month. So wow. I had did all the process, paid the money, whatever. And they was like, look, you could wait till January 1st and submit through USDA and we'll process you or approve you through that.
Okay.
And so I did it and waited. They approved me, and I was like, wow,
and you said you did it backwards.
I did do it backwards because most people they're like, I'm gonna go to school, I'm gonna study it, I'm gonna learn it first.
Right.
I didn't do it like that. What I knew that my mom, my grandfather, and her best friend had showed me how to grow.
Yes.
I knew that if I had that basic foundation,
absolutely,
I could grow anything.
Yeah.
Literally, that's how I felt.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's try. Let me get the license.
I love it.
And I did it. And then
you got the license first and worked your way the other way.
Yep, I sure did.
That's good.
And it worked.
And it worked.
And I just love it. I love growing. I love being able to, because we were talking before, we come from hands-on cosmetology.
Absolutely.
In cosmetology, you learn how to take care of people.
Absolutely.
You learn how to take care of their hair.
Yeah. How to nurture it. Educate,
train. And so I was like, I know that God has placed me here because that's my calling.
Absolutely.
Being able to train, educate, be knowledgeable in the space that I'm in.
Absolutely.
So that I can be a hand to someone else.
Absolutely.
Especially in the time we're in.
Yes.
So that's
so good.
How it came to be.
That's so good. And so let's talk about your grandma.
Yeah.
Because it started off kind of like with your grandma. And so talk about the gap with your grandma, your grandfather, and everybody, your mom, how all of it did a 360 and just did. I love this story. Tell this story.
So when Denver had become legalized to grow marijuana, we were in the kitchen and my granny, out the blue, she was like, they sitting here making money off this marijuana. We need to figure this out too. You know, like we need to figure out how we can get in there. And I was like, what is she talking about? Why would she say that? Like
Right.
my granny.
Your granny. And
So
now
I
she has
she has Alzheimer's.
Okay.
She has her long term memory, but it's still like it's the short term. So you know, um, so it was just kind of interesting that my grandma would say that, or that she was knowledgeable enough to know what they were talking about. You know, you just never know.
Absolutely.
So I just started talking more to my grandfather because I know that he may not know everything about like marijuana and stuff, but he understands plants. He understands gardening.
And he's a
deacon.
He's a deacon at the
church. Committed.
Right. You know, so you was like, faithful. I don't know if I even want to say anything to you about this.
Yes, I don't even want to talk to him about it.
Yeah.
But it was just I was just thankful that when I did start talking to him, he was open to it.
Yeah.
And like I said, at the heart of it, he understands that it's a plant.
Yeah,
he understands that, okay, I'm going to put a seed in the ground, and if I take care of it, it's going to produce something.
Right.
And so it created, it lowered, it reduced these gaps. Like I was able to talk to him more about not just regular garden, but also talk about my hemp.
Yeah. And it's so many different things. I want you to just touch on that too for health reasons.
Yeah. So that was the other thing, just being able to understand the health benefits with it, just being able to help with anxiety, being able to help with relaxation of like arthritis, depression, being able to, hemp has been known for anti-aging
benefits you talked about. Yeah.
Antioxidants, protein exists in hemp, and just aches and pains, the knees, being able to provide a natural way to reduce inflammation.
Yes.
All of those things have been what I've been looking into,
right,
as far as the health awareness
part.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So just learning how to grow. Once I got that license, I was like, I'm gonna go get certified. So I got certified with UW Platteville in the cannabis horticulture certification, and they helped me understand more about the plant, more about learning. Understanding what it's going to take to have a healthy plant.
Okay.
What
everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
And it was just such a great program.
Absolutely. And that was at Platteville.
That was at UW Platteville. Okay. Yep. And so once I did that, I was like, I told my mom, I was like, man, we need to be able to do something with this, because I'm learning how to grow, but you also are a great cook. So
right. And she went to school for
yeah, she has a degree in hospitality and culinary arts.
Yeah.
Yep. And she, if anybody knows my mom, Robin Moment, she can get down. She gets down. Her and my granny used to get down. Her and her friend Faye, they get down in the kitchen. And so I was like, how can we be able to learn how to, infuse these items into what we do on a regular basis? And so it was just good to talk with her, because I'm able to take what I learned about hemp and be able to talk to her in a way that she understands through her cooking lane. Right? Because we have to learn about with hemp, with the terpenes, the flavor, what comes off of it when you grow it.
What is the terpenes?
So terpenes are kind of like flavors or fragrances that come off of certain plants.
Okay.
When they grow, they're infused with certain things and they come out. So like, say, for example, you might have one. I grew one last year that ended up smelling like chocolate. It had a chocolate terpene. It came off really sweet. And then like when you light it, it has this fragrance of chocolate. I can't even describe it, like
really
to the point that everybody's like, it smells like chocolate. And
wow.
So mom is able to take those things and be able to say, hey, I can infuse this with this and it will give me a whole nother fragrance, or it will complement what I'm cooking,
The-
so that the flavors are
flavors.
complementary. And so it was just good to talk to her in her space because she's so fluent in that language
Absolutely.
that we're able to see how it all connects.
So that's good too, because now you and your mom is collaborating together.
Yes.
And how amazing and wonderful
It
is
is.
that to be with your mom?
It's super amazing because, like, I'm an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Been in the hair game. I did hair for 25 years.
Yes. And so you're not doing hair anymore?
No, I'm done. I'm retired. Yep, I'm leaving that to you.
You can look, girl. Listen. Oh, okay.
But just taking the knowledge of being an entrepreneur and being able to translate it into another space.
Yes.
And
yes.
She is very hands on. She likes to work. She's a worker.
Yes.
But I like the business part of it.
Right.
So being able to
collaborate
is just so important.
It is,
especially with Black families.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
yes.
So that has been like, I've been able to close our generational gap.
Yes.
Because it's a lane that we are very all familiar with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So with your garden, let's talk about your garden, because you had over 400 peppers.
Yes.
And so what did you do with all them, girl? What did you do with all them peppers?
So
this was last season.
Yes.
She had over 400 peppers. And guess what? They all gone. She sold. Girl, did you tell the story? Did you tell them?
So I was like,
Tony.
I was like, I have all these peppers. What am I gonna do with it?
Right.
So I'm like, my mom was like, well, you can can them, and I said, okay, I don't know how to can.
Right.
So then I called my grandpa, and he gave me his recipe.
Okay.
So that was another just opportunity for us to work together. So he gave me his recipe, and elders, they always say, well, all you got to do is.
You're right. And you're like, oh, okay, no.
So it was just crazy. So I took that recipe. My mom came over. Every time I pulled the crop, we would cut the peppers up.
Yeah.
And do our thing. And I just started selling them. So people all over. I posted it on Facebook.
That's when I saw it. Yeah,
I posted it on Facebook. Then I started getting all these calls. My neighbor, he the one sold me out. He bought all the peppers.
Wow.
I sold him some, and then he came back. He said, "Man, my friends love this."
So were they? So they were they pickled? Vinegar? What did you?
So they were canned. So I put them, cut them up, and then I used my grandpa's recipe, and then you sell them like that. So it's more like a pepper sauce.
Pepper sauce.
Like
okay.
Like
vinegar kind
of. Yep, like a vinegar sauce.
Because my grandfather, I remember just off my grandfather used to, when he used to make his greens, and he had on the table peppers with some vinegar or something. He would put the.
That's me.
That's you. That's what my grandfather used to make it too. Yep. So that's a generational thing, and now
and
a cultural thing. So now it's coming back around, and in the times that we're living in now, y'all, we need to know how to farm. We need to know how to grow our own things. And Tony is going to have classes, a program, something that she's going to have. And I know I'm going to come to the class, and I got great. Sure. So this is amazing, because I'm just thinking about how the generational things, they say everything happens, it happens again.
Yes.
And so here it is, my grandfather, your grandfather, they canned it and had it on, in jars and all kind of stuff.
Yep.
So now here it is, you're doing it. But it's in a time now that we actually are going to need this information and this knowledge, you guys. So, Tony, I am just so excited about what you're doing. I am so proud of you, because when I just saw you on Facebook, I said, look at Tony, because just transitioning, because when we're hairstylists, that's what we know. So both of us went back and got our instructor's license. I had to go to state board. We both got our instructor's license. Look, then a few months later, they said but anyway, to transition, what we were doing, loving other people and making sure that they're, beautiful and nurturing other people. All of that still was part of your purpose, because now you're nurturing, with the farming and helping other people and being knowledgeable for what, and teaching other people how to eat healthier and do certain things and grow your own farm, your own goods. So I'm just wondering, like, what made you, as far as just all the vegetables, and was it basically from your grandmother and grandfather that made you really get into it, or your mom, or what like sparked that?
Well, I always knew it. Like I'm the grandchild that I'm the oldest grandchild. So I was the one who would go down south with them
Oh,
every
there you
summer.
go.
You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? And see the works. And it
Yes.
literally was a farm and they had all this stuff going. And I would see it, but when you get to be a young adult, you disconnect from it. So that's
Right.
like unless you live on a farm as a city girl, you disconnect from it
Right.
because you don't
Out of
you
mind,
don't
out of sight.
yeah,
Out of mind, out of
exactly.
sight. Yeah.
So just wanting to, when you get older and you start to see the things, I know that there in my family there's a generation disconnect,
Yes.
over the
That's in
years.
most
We
families.
just in most
Mm-hmm.
families, and then
Yeah.
but I wanted to do something that was special to me. I wanted to learn. I knew also that I had a fear, like I do not like bugs to this day.
Oh,
I don't
me
like
either.
bugs. I don't like worms. I can't stand the slugs. My
Right.
mama knows the story. My first year growing, I had some slugs on my
Ooh.
my squash, and I had a mental breakdown. I called my mom. I said, "Please, can you come help me with these
Ooh.
slugs?" And so it was just so crazy because she like I needed her,
Yeah.
and so it was just in my I'm 46, so in my 40s, I'm still calling on my mom
Girl,
like, "Come help
yes.
me."
Yes.
And so she came laughing at me, but she came.
She's like, girl, put that thing up to
She's
the
like,
side.
"Girl,
Go to
flick that thing off." But it was a good opportunity for me to really learn how to deal with my fears,
Yes.
and understand that this is
Absolutely.
God. Like
Yes.
everything that I'm dealing with is God.
He
This is He created all of this for a reason.
absolutely.
And so that is what I look at. I look at being a licensed hemp grower as really understanding his work, because
Absolutely.
this is a plant that was created by God, and not to have the negative stigma of hemp. I
Right.
want people to know about it. I want people to embrace urban gardening, urban farming. I mean, because I'm literally a licensed farmer. I have a licensed farm in my backyard.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's not for play. Like I really have embraced this lifestyle. And it's important. I mean, um people need to learn how to be sustainable. We have
Yes.
to learn how to be sustainable for Black people, because it is life or death.
It
Like
is at
when you
this
go into
right.
the grocery store and you see. So for me, my eye opener was when I was growing in my backyard, and then I would go into the grocery store and see
Yeah.
the same thing I'm growing, and
Right.
it looks terrible.
Exactly.
I know that there are unhealthy things on those crops that they're bringing into the grocery stores. You know what
Absolutely,
I
because you're
mean?
knowledgeable about it, so you
Because I'm
know what all the
yes,
stuff they spray on it and the things
yes,
that they do, and
yes,
how they.
and
Yeah.
it tastes different. That's why I posted on Facebook that pot of greens,
Yes.
because I want people to see now it's a real thing when you grow your crops and you're able to provide for your family.
Right.
So for like people who are low income, underserved, poverty stricken,
Yes.
we
Yes.
can
Yes.
teach people how to be able to sustain so that they are not hungry, so that
Absolutely.
we
Absolutely.
can
That's
provide them
so
with the
good.
tools to be successful.
Yes. So you talked about that you're a licensed farmer,
Yes,
urban farmer.
yes.
So in her backyard, you guys, I'm gonna put the pictures up, but you got to see it on her Facebook page. But I'm gonna try to put these pictures up so you guys can see it. She has an actual farm in her backyard, and she is actually she's getting ready to have a greenhouse in her garage. She's making her garage into a greenhouse. I mean, the pictures are so amazing. I want to show these pictures. I know you can. I want to see if you send to me on my phone. But girl, I was just like, oh my God. This is just so I'm
I
trying to
feel like one thing my husband tells me is
I don't
that
know if
like
y'all can see this, but I know. I'm gonna get the pictures blown up. Y'all can't see that. But
but God
it's so
gives you
good.
the tools that you need to be successful, and
Absolutely.
it's up to us to receive it so that we can do the work.
That's it.
Even
That's
my
it.
granddaughter Azari, she loves being in the garden with me. I sent you a picture of her too.
Yeah.
But I'm teaching her how to garden. She's
That's so
7,
good.
but she loves being out there with me. She every year I've shown her something different. So this year, as part of my farm, I'm gonna create a gardening space for her. So I'm gonna give her her own
Oh, that
raised
is so
bed,
nice.
and then be able to help her understand why this is important.
And it's so important. That's something I can't wait till you get your program together. If you need some help, I help you.
Yes.
Because I got grandkids. That's just something nice that just the community, just we can learn how to do.
Mhm.
And it's bringing us back together
Bringing
again.
it back together.
Bringing it back
Yes.
together. And that's so important.
Yes.
I'm really excited about this. Now, so I want to get it because you're doing so much, Tony. We could be sitting here talking all day, but you in school for your doctorate, girl.
Yes.
So congratulations
Thank you.
on
Thank
that.
you.
I am
Thank
so
you.
proud of you. So you're doing your doctorate on hip hop. I mean,
Well,
your degree.
my degree is organizational leadership, but my dissertation
Your
is
dissertation.
focused around getting a better understanding of how community leaders in underserved communities describe how hip hop culture influences their leadership. And so I think that it's really important because a lot of people, when they talk about hip hop, they talk about the music, but they don't talk
Right.
about the foundation.
Right.
And so my goal is to provide more awareness of hip hop as a cultural mindset versus just a form of art form of expression.
Right.
And so it has been really eye opening. And I think just really understanding cultural leadership is so much more important. Being able to understand how your leadership plays a part in how your community exists
Absolutely.
is so
Absolutely.
important. And so,
Absolutely.
even in that, the cultural leadership, the farming plays such a big part of it because we need to be able to learn how to be leaders in our community, whether it be through education,
Yes.
whether it be through lifestyle. Gardening is just a way of life,
Absolutely.
living sustainability.
Yes.
And so I think it's so necessary for us to do what we can because even for me, I just want to teach.
Yes.
Like that's
Yes,
just
that's
at the
part.
core. I
Yeah.
just want to educate
Educate and
it,
help. Yep.
and if it means seed by seed, I'm able to show one person because
That's it.
when you look at how awesome God is, one seed makes a tree,
Ain't that something?
right? And
Amazing.
all of the fruit that comes from the labor from planting that one seed, you sow it and you reap it and all of that, and it will grow as long as you take care of it and nurture it.
And that's
so
with everybody and
with
everything, every living thing,
yes,
every living thing.
it's
needs
so
to be
real. When we
absolutely.
talk about being able to plant the seed, are you planting a good seed? Are you planting
That's
something
right.
positive, negative? What are you putting in your community to help it grow?
Absolutely.
Are you putting poison in there or are you putting in something positive? And so that's
So
why
important.
this is so big, so much bigger.
Bigger than
Yeah, it's bigger than me. Like I just want to be able to do
put a
what I
footprint.
can.
Footprint.
Yes, I do. I want to be able to
Absolutely.
be a message in my community.
Yes, yes, yes. So your LLC is called Creative Consciousness LLC.
Yes,
I like
yes,
that.
thank you.
You're welcome. So that's with your urban farming and all the education, the mindful leadership practices and things that you're doing. So do you have a program like in place maybe or something that you're thinking about doing?
Yeah,
And,
I am planning on starting some classes. I want to do some beginner classes this summer.
okay.
So being able to show people the importance of soil and some other classes that I will be introducing. And so I'll be putting that on my Facebook page, which is
Okay.
Tony Moment, and then I'll also be putting it on my Instagram page, which is Creative Consciousness LLC. So I have some things in store this summer.
Yes.
And I'm super excited
I
because
am too.
I've been getting a lot of questions on my Facebook page, as you can see.
Yeah, I inbox you. I'm like, Tony.
And so I just want to be able to be a vessel, like
Yes.
just like my mom and grandpa, and my mom's friend Faye. They really shown me so much, and I want to be able to reciprocate it.
Yeah.
And be able to do the work.
Now we was talking about when you told your husband you wanted to get a chicken. And he like, wait a minute now, you trying to get a whole farm
Look,
with
I
animals?
told him I wanted 2 chickens, and he was like, "Now wait a minute now." But it's just funny because I went into the grocery store the other day and it said $12 a dozen, and
Yes.
so my girlfriend, I talked to her the other day, and she's like, my husband just bought 2 chickens.
Get out of here.
Yes, it's real.
It is
Like,
real.
to be able to take, and so it just kind of brings to a point like you have to be able to support local farmers,
Yes.
really understanding the work that's being put in. It doesn't take a lot to learn how to farm. I'm an example of it.
Absolutely.
I'm making it a point to be successful as an urban gardener in my space.
Yes.
And it can be done. And so anybody can even if you live in an apartment, you can take that little space and be able to grow something.
Right.
So
like we were talking before, in your basement, because she
Mhm.
lives, I'm not gonna tell your address, but you live in the inner, like she lives
Mhm.
off of Capitol.
Mhm.
But in your basement, you have, what are they called?
I have an indoor grow space.
An indoor growth space in her basement. So you can teach people how to actually grow their vegetables and
indoors.
Yep. So she's doing that now. She's doing that in her home now. She was growing her vegetables there too, in her home. So it can be learned, you guys. This is something that I think right now in the age where this is innovative. Like, this is something that we need to learn how to do. All of us that can, bring the community together, bring our families together, something that we can learn. And so I'm going to put her information up on the screen so that you guys can contact her, or, however, on her Facebook page, Instagram, inbox her. But she's gonna, I'm gonna stay connected to Tony, because
Yes.
we lost a little bit of touch.
Yes.
We talked, like I said, we were colleagues, and that was over about 10 years ago or so. I don't know how long ago.
Yeah.
But we lost touch. But when I saw her, we always stayed, Facebook friends.
Yes.
And so I reached out to her. I said, "Oh my goodness, Tony, this is just so good. I need you to be on my podcast, because this can help so many people, just learning how to do it generationally."
Yes.
Like when you told me your story about how your grandfather, how with your mom and your grandmother, how everybody together is in and on board,
and we
with
all
it.
have I'm the only one that is a licensed farmer, but my grandfather has a garden in his backyard. My mom, her best friend, we all have a sizable garden in our backyard,
Right.
that we are able to be able to. It's fruitful.
It's fruitful.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so we take. I usually like, even if at a barbecue, if I have some extra vegetables, we take the vegetables over, they grill them. So it's another example of how that's community. You know what I mean? So how we can bring our resources together to create something greater.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I know you were saying that you can host like food tastings. So how does that, as far as you hosting in the food tasting experiences with it, and then you're going to infuse them?
Yeah.
So that's with your mom too,
yeah,
right?
That's with my mom. So we're in the process of putting together something where people will be able to not only experience the hemp, but also be able to purchase items from what we have created. So stay tuned for that. I will definitely let you know, Sean, and then I will also be putting it on my social media. But I promise you, it's gonna be something so awesome that I just want to be able to make people more knowledgeable in the hemp space.
Absolutely.
And in the urban gardening space. And I want it to be positive.
Absolutely.
I want to bring a positive message with it.
Absolutely. So I always say, is there anything else you want to say? But I want you to give a word of wisdom as well too. It could be about anything that you want to let everybody know. But is there anything else that you would like to add, as far as how everything has just did a 360? I know we talked about it earlier, but I guess I'm just so stuck on you being a cosmetologist and then just going into that. But like you say, it was like you were pushed into it. Like that was part of your purpose.
I do.
That happened.
Like,
it just
I feel like God has always been preparing me for this moment, but I
Absolutely.
didn't know it.
Yeah.
I think there were things that He showed me throughout my journey, but ultimately, I truly believe I'm a servant leader. So my
Yes.
calling is to lead through service, by
Yes.
action, by showing, um, and being able to give to others. So
Yes.
it's interesting because every job that I've had over probably my 10-year span has been in
In
service.
service.
So
In
I
service.
know
That's
that
who
this,
you are.
yes, yes, and
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, my husband and we also have a nonprofit organization where we're able to educate youth in schools, Craig Clifton Incorporated, and so we do a lot
Yes.
with the service
With the service.
component, being able to educate, mentor, growing. So this urban farming space is so important to me. It just brings joy
Yes.
to know that people are interested, and so I
Absolutely.
just want to keep passing the message. I know my grandfather; he's super proud. I can't. I'm gonna tell him I'm gonna call him. I'm gonna call him later and say, "Papa, I was on a podcast about farming." He
Yes.
gonna say,
Yes.
"What, granddaughter?"
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go.
Yes.
Actually, I'm gonna go drive over there now and go
Yeah.
tell him.
Yeah.
But we are. I'm learning stuff every single day, and it's crazy because they are learning stuff from me too. So
Yes.
that's the part that makes me humble, is that
Absolutely.
they are also learning from me as I'm learning from them.
them. And that's how it's supposed
Yes,
to be.
yes. So we can keep
Yeah.
that. I think that's probably my wisdom, that you know as much as you can, keep the generational gap closed,
Yes.
so that we can continue to learn and get the knowledge from each other. So when our
Absolutely.
kids get older, they'll have something to move forward with.
Absolutely.
So that's my goal. Making sure that our grandchildren are able to get something and be able to to move it forward and pass it along.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you know I'm gonna be reaching out. You
No,
already know, because
anytime.
I'm bothering you. I'm like, Tony. So
No.
I cannot wait for your workshops and so for
Okay.
everything to get going. And I'm gonna make sure that I put it out there, for your
Please do.
information, because people are gonna want to know about this.
Yes.
This is amazing, Tony. That's why when I saw it, it just took me back. But then I was just like, this is so good. And I'm looking at your pictures on there, and you got a whole she is a licensed farmer, urban farmer, y'all. Like, she got a whole farm in her yard,
Yes.
and it just looks so amazing. So I'm hopefully I can get them pictures up there. But like I always say, thank you, Tony, so much for coming. I appreciate you coming.
Yes,
This was so informative and so good. But like I always say, you guys, it takes a village, and I'm too grateful to be quiet. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next show.